We begin this morning with a battle of fact versus fiction. A battle pitting parents mourning the shooting deaths of their children at Sandy Hook Elementary School against purveyors of the most mean-spirited and outlandish of myths. Our cover story is from Tony DeCopel.
Oh, hi. Nice to see you. Hi, welcome to the Ben Wheeler Show.
Benny had a bit of a cold that morning. He woke up with sniffles.
I got you.
What was he looking forward to in that month?
Well, Christmas, you know. Every holiday was a special event for Jesse.
It was December 2012 when a 20-year-old man walked into Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, and opened fire.
They were just little babies. They were no more than babies. You know, they had no self-defense or knew what self-defense was.
Neil Heslin's son Jesse and David Wheeler's son Benny were both just 6 years old. Those are the facts of the story. In every day since, the people of Newtown, especially all 26 families who lost a child or a loved one, have slowly tried to move forward. But Neil Heslin and David Wheeler are part of a small band of Sandy Hook families that feel they have no choice but to look back, to stare down an outlandish myth and the people who spread it.
Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured.
For years, the online provocateur Alex Jones and others like him have argued that the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary never actually happened.
The official story of Sandy Hook has more holes in it than Swiss cheese.
That they were staged with paid actors, including Neil Heslin and David Wheeler themselves, along with dozens of others, residents, law enforcement, even journalists, all actors.
It took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake.
And as for the children who died, well, the fiction argues they never lived in the first place.
For me personally, it has, in my more vulnerable moments, felt like a complete denial of my life. In my more vulnerable moments, it has felt like salt in the wounds. And it can take a big chunk out of your faith in humanity if you let it.
Which is why, earlier this year, both fathers, along with other Sandy Hook families, filed suit against Alex Jones, whom they feel is mainly responsible for spreading these bogus stories.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan famously said 30 years ago, many times, repeatedly, you're entitled to your own opinions, but not to your own facts. He was kind of joking back then. And we've come to this place where many, many, many millions of people feel absolutely entitled to their own facts.
Kurt Anderson is the author of A History of Delusional Thinking in America.
When you create a story like Sandy Hook,
he says all sorts of wild ideas took hold after the freewheeling 60s.
You know, I can think what I want. You know, what you say is true isn't my truth.
And then exploded with the rise of the internet.
There's a good reason to question this whole narrative.
Suddenly, those hundreds and then thousands and then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands of people could find each other, recruit more people, set up websites to put out legitimate-looking arguments for these things.
But Anderson says the Sandy Hook deniers, as they're called, are a special breed. Motivated, he thinks, by fears that a mass shooting of young children might spur stricter gun laws.
If you had to point to a single reason why Sandy Hook in particular has become a focus of conspiracy theorists, what's the reason?
It's guns. If 26 people had been killed by a guy running them down with a car, it wouldn't have taken off the way this one did.
David Wheeler suspects Anderson may be right.
I don't remember exactly when this particular piece of mail came, but it was a simple envelope with a piece of ruled notebook paper in it. All they had done on this piece of paper was to transcribe the text of the Second Amendment. That's all they did.
Still, at first, both fathers say they tried to laugh off the fake claims, even one suggesting Wheeler had not one but two roles in the massacre, playing both a grieving father and an FBI agent.
Have you seen the picture of you split screen with the FBI?
Yes. Congratulations, you found two middle-aged, jowly white guys in Fairfield County, Connecticut. Remarkable.
We dropped them off at school.
Then, last year, Neil Heslin went on television to directly address the Sandy Hook deniers.
I lost my son. I buried my son. I held my son with a bullet hole through his head.
That is not possible.
After which the harassment only got worse.
Folks, we've looked at all sides, but I mean, it's as phony as a $3 bill.
To hear Heslin tell it, that's because Alex Jones's falsehoods, shared with an audience in the millions, got even more personal. And that became dangerous.
I've had many death threats. People say, well, you should be the ones with the bullet hole in your head.
How'd you pick this location?
Jesse's mom actually picked it.
Heslin says the lawsuit emphasizes his interest in putting an end to what's now become years of despair, made worse by the deniers labeling him a liar and his son a fake.
Do you regret giving the interview that led to the most recent round of denials? Do you regret saying you held your son with a bullet hole in his head?
This is true. It's part of my story. It's part of Jesse's legacy or his story or his history, and it's a fact.
David Wheeler says his lawsuit was prompted by his belief that Alex Jones is profiting from the lies and fabrications.
That's when I thought, we have to do something. As a society, collectively, we have to do something.
What about people like him? There's always another.
Well, if there's another like him that tries to do the same thing using the same tactics, then he'll have to go away too. We need to make sure that everyone understands that this is not okay. There are limits.
This is a very tough case for Alex Jones to win.
Because the claims he has been making are so particularly...
Yeah, because what he has said is so appalling.
Floyd Abrams is a respected First Amendment lawyer, famed for defending publication of the Pentagon Papers during the Vietnam era. Abrams says Alex Jones may have gone well beyond the protections of free speech, and he thinks the consequences could be severe.
This is the sort of case in which a jury could say, we have to award vast amounts of money to punish him and to tell other people that saying such things is simply unacceptable.
Do you think the outcome of these cases could put Alex Jones and InfoWars out of business?
Whatever money they have and whatever the level of insurance they have, this is a deeply threatening case to persisting in their business.
We asked Alex Jones's legal team to comment on this story. We got no response.
I believe your children died.
But since these lawsuits were filed, Jones seems to have changed his views on Sandy Hook.
Real shootings happen. I think Sandy Hook happened.
Still, his rhetoric has gotten him kicked off every major social media platform. Apple has stopped offering his show, and most recently PayPal, which handles transactions for Jones's online store, has said no more. As for the Sandy Hook families, they're still trying to heal, to go forward, guided by the memory of those they lost, and something else, says David Wheeler.
The lasting lesson in all of this is that we are really only here for one reason. We are here to take care of each other. And that is the legacy of this town.